The world premiere for the Opel Frontera took place in 1991 at the Geneva Motor Show, and it was built as an all-wheel drive recreational vehicle, competing against products from Suzuki, Mitsubishi, Daihatsu, and Nissan. In the UK, the short wheelbase version was listed at £12,288, coming only with an aging 2.0 113 horsepower petrol engine from the Vauxhall Cavalier, while a 5-door long wheelbase example with an Opel-sourced 2.4-litre 123 horsepower petrol unit cost £16,345. The Frontera was the product of the partnership between Opel's parent firm General Motors and Japanese maker Isuzu. GM used Isuzu's 4x4 expertise in the form of the Isuzu Mu Off-Roader, to create its own SUV for Europe. The story of what Europe came to recognize as the Frontera actually began in Japan in 1988, with the launch of the Isuzu Faster TF pickup truck, which was never manufactured in Europe. The Faster TF formed the mechanical basis for the 1989 3-door passenger-carrying short-wheelbase Isuzu Mu, and its 5-door sibling, the Mu Wizard, with both soon being exported from Japan, or assembled elsewhere. The Isuzu Mu Wizard was a compact SUV, introduced in 1990 as a 1991 model, and it ceased production in 2004. Isuzu manufactured several variations to the Wizard for sale in other countries. The United States has had 2 versions, the Isuzu Rodeo and, until 2002, the rebadged Honda Passport. Opel/Vauxhall and Holden each also sold rebadged versions of the vehicle. It was also sold as the Chevrolet Frontera in Egypt and the Isuzu Frontier in South America. There were 2 generations of Opel Frontera, which was produced from 1991 to 2004. The first generation was produced from 1991 to 1998, and the second generation, which wasn't all that different from the first, from 1998 until 2004. All Fronteras were built in the UK at the Old Bedford factory in Luton, which today is a Stellantis commercial vehicle factory. The first generation Frontera was produced with 2 types of bodywork: a short 3-door, Frontera Sport with removable panels above the rear seat and a Frontera Soft Top with a folding awning over it, and a long basic 5-door, Estate. The range of engines is represented by petrol power units of 2.0 litres and 115 horsepower, 2.2 litres and 136 horsepower. Brake mechanisms were in front discs and in the rear drum brakes. The 2.0-litre engine was outdated and had low power for such an engine, and as such it was most often installed on the 3-door version. Acceleration to 100 km per hour took as long as 15.6 seconds. All versions of the first-generation Opel Frontera were equipped with the same 5-speed manual transmission. The SUV is rear-wheel drive by default, but it has the option of a short-term all-wheel drive for off-road driving. The Opel Frontera had the transmission made in Japan, the engine in Germany, and the final car was assembled in England. The 3-door version, Sport, had the dimensions: 4,192 mm length, 1,780 mm width, and 1,721 mm height. The 5-door version of the Opel Frontera, Estate, had 4,692 mm in length, 1,764 mm in width, 1,753 mm in height. The ground clearance was 230 mm and the fuel tank holds 80 liters of fuel. An early crossover SUV, the Opel Frontera was ahead of its time in some ways, but horribly behind in others. The Frontera was rushed to market and also was based on an old platform, and with not so great on-road handling, and a range of thirsty and unreliable petrol and diesel engines, the car didn't have many redeeming features at all. When it was launched, it was reported that the vehicle had a poor handling, whether you chose a short or long wheelbase version. A bouncy ride meant the car was uncomfortable too. The cabin was cramped on the short wheelbase model, while the boot was compromised by a side-hinged tailgate. You'd be lucky to get more than 11.8 liters for 100 kilometers through regular driving, and to top it all, the car was very unreliable. The car got an update with a lot of improvements in 1995. One of them was in the rear suspension, where the old suspension was replaced with springs, the lower tailgate flap began to fold back and not to the side. It began to mount the spare tire, which previously lay in the luggage compartment, thus it gave it a larger boot. In the 1996 to 1997 models, the interior trim, including the dashboard, was changed, and a new 2.5 diesel engine was fitted. This engine was also used in the Range Rover and Jeep Cherokee in the UK. The second-generation Opel Frontera was introduced in 1998. Design-wise, there weren't many changes, so the appearance of the SUV has not changed much. It differs from the first generation with smoother and rounded lines, which made the appearance of the SUV more modern. On the exterior, the new Frontera was added dedicated wheel arches. The engines were improved and there were 2.2-liter diesel and gasoline engines with direct injection and 3.2-liter gasoline V6. The most important novelty is the electronic system, which allows pressing the button to turn on and off four-wheel drive when the vehicle is moving at a speed of up to 100 km per hour. For an additional charge on a car with any engine, you could now order an automatic 4-range transmission. In comparison with its predecessor, the Frontera of the second generation has an improved handling both on the road and off-road. For example, the front and rear tracks became wider by 60 mm, a 5-arm rear suspension appeared, and the length of the short version increased by 130 mm. The new generation had all-disc brakes front and rear, and since 1999 it was equipped with ABS brakes. Thanks to the updated power units, improved aerodynamics, and additional sound insulation, the noise level in the cabin has significantly decreased. Safety is ensured by 2 full-size front airbags and seat belt pretensioners. The second-generation Opel Frontera was awarded by Euro NCAP 3 out of 5 stars in a series of crash tests in 2002 for the protection of adult passengers and 1 out of 4 for injuries sustained by pedestrians upon collision. Height-adjustable head restraints were added to the rear seats. As an option, you can order a central rear headrest for the 5-door version of the car. The luggage compartment had an impressive size of 518 liters, and if you fold the rear seats, the boot capacity will increase to 1,790 liters. The boot was designed to open in 2 stages. First, you need to raise the upper glass part, then move aside the swinging lower part of the door with a spare wheel. The interior was also completely redesigned, and you could have it with the new Karen navigation system, which had a lot of new functions from the trip computer to the telephone directory. After 2001, the car had further modifications on the diesel engine, with the final version to be fitted being the 2.2-liter. This model met the Euro 4 emissions standard. Sales gradually faded as the 1990s progressed, with growing competition led by the Nissan Tirano and Ford Maverick fragmenting sales. 10 years on from launch, the modern SUV market was emerging, and time finally expired for the European Frontera with the building of example number 329,468 at Luton on December 23, 2003. But this was not the end for the Opel Frontera. In 2005, the Chinese revived the Opel Frontera, and started to produce this model under the name Landwind X6 with 5 doors and Landwind X9 with 3 doors. You might remember the model as it was the first SUV to fail the Euro NCAP crash test. In 2006, Opel announced it had plans to introduce a completely new SUV called the Frontera, but in the end they dropped them. If you liked this video, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you.